Before the SATs, Chloe had a fight with the school hunk and sought me out, a quiet, unassuming bookworm. Her best friend was floored, asking why she was throwing herself away like that. Chloe scoffed. He's just a free tutor. How else am I supposed to get into the same college as Ethan? Besides, she added, Ethan wants that early admission spot. He's not getting it unless we knock Jason Davis off his #1 rank. And just like that, after the exam scores were released, they both got what they wanted. At the class reunion party, Chloe went public with the school hunk, then turned to me. Jason, the person I like is Ethan. Stop bothering me from now on. Everyone expected me to burst into tears, to be heartbroken. But I just smiled and took it in stride. Okay, they didn't know. I had $20,000 from Chloe's dad in my pocket. It was my fee for playing along with her all these years. The moment Chloe and Ethan made their relationship official, I was in a meeting with Chloe's father. While I was waiting, my best friend, Ben, messaged me several times. He sent a screenshot of a social media post. Jason, you have to see this. Chloe and Ethan are together. What happened? Weren't you her boyfriend? I quickly read the messages and pieced it all together. Then I opened the screenshot. The photo was taken in a dimly lit, romantic-looking hotel room. Chloe and Ethan were holding hands, fingers intertwined. The post had several congratulatory comments below it, all from mutual friends. I didn't care about that. My eyes landed on the caption Chloe had written. My wish came true. At first glance, it looked like the classic joy of a girl whose secret crush finally became a reality. But I knew better. It was more than that. After all, I had personally heard Chloe say it. I have to get into the same college as Ethan. Jason Davis? He's just a free tutor. Ethan wants that early admission spot. How's he supposed to get it if we don't knock Jason off his #1 perch? Now, the college entrance exams were over and the scores were out. Ethan had successfully secured his early admission, and Chloe had performed exceptionally well, getting her highest scores since starting high school. She could now apply to a university in the same city as Ethan. In a way, how was that not her wish coming true? What really shocked Ben, though, was the unconditional effort I had poured into Chloe for the past 2 years. I had requested to switch seats to become her desk mate. I made study notes for her and made sure she memorized English vocabulary and key concepts every day. I brought her an umbrella when she was caught in the rain. I brought her medicine when she got sick during an exam. To outsiders, it looked like I was some kind of savior, stubbornly trying to pull a rebellious girl out of the mud. At first, Chloe had completely ignored me. So when she suddenly changed her attitude, everyone assumed she had been moved by my dedication. For 2 years, Chloe and I were inseparable. With my help and supervision, the once wild party girl transformed into a focused, top student. You could say that I was a big reason Chloe was even going to college. So everyone in our class just assumed it was a given. After all the effort I'd put in, after loving her so much, we were supposed to get together after graduation. No one expected this. The exam scores had just been released, and Chloe was already going official with Ethan. Ben clearly couldn't accept her burning the bridge after crossing it or stabbing me in the back like this. His messages kept popping up. They interrupted the person sitting across from me. Jason, if you have something urgent, feel free to text back. Chloe's father reminded me gently. I silenced my phone. It's nothing important. He smiled and pushed a debit card with $10,000 on it across the table. Thank you for tutoring Chloe these last 2 years. She was only able to get into college because of you. This is the rest of the tutoring fee. If you have any other requests, don't hesitate to ask. I'll do my best to accommodate you. His smile was warm and friendly. It reminded me of the first time he approached me. Jason, I heard you were the top middle school student in the city on a special scholarship. I have a small favor to ask. I didn't even know Chloe back then. The principal and my homeroom teacher had called me into the office. Chloe's father was there, looking just as he did today. He said he had a daughter. Ever since her parents' marriage fell apart, she had become rebellious and difficult. They were worried she would waste her 3 years of high school. They wanted to find an academically gifted student with good character to be her deskmate. This is 10,000. If you can help my daughter, give her a hand, and get her into college, I'll give you another 10,000. 20,000 in total. That was more money than my family had seen in over a decade. While I was still lost in thought, the principal had already accepted the card and made a promise. Mr. Reed, don't you worry. Our teachers and students will work together to help Chloe. Chloe's father nodded, satisfied. Now I had fulfilled his request. He was here to make good on the rest of his promise. That's not necessary, thank you, sir. That first 10,000 had allowed my family and me to live comfortably for 3 years. This new 10,000 would cover my upcoming college tuition and living expenses. I was more than satisfied and grateful. Chloe's father seemed genuinely appreciative. Before leaving, he even told me that if I ever needed help, I could call him. I didn't respond to that. When we were studying classical Chinese literature in high school, I learned an idiom that basically means the transaction is complete. Now that Chloe was in college, my deal with him was over. After Chloe's dad left, I opened my phone again. Ben had stopped messaging, probably since I hadn't replied, until I sent him a simple, "Got it." He replied instantly. "So, are you still going to the class party tonight?" After the exam scores came out, most of our class did pretty well. Everyone had decided to get together for one last high school dinner. If it were just the students, I probably wouldn't have gone. But this dinner was also billed as a thank you to our teachers, and our homeroom teacher and others were invited. They had all looked out for me over the past 3 years. "I'll be there," I replied. At 7 p.m., I arrived at the restaurant. I don't know if I was early or just arrived at an interesting time. The private room only had Chloe, Ethan, and a few other classmates inside. After some brief hellos, the conversation turned to college applications. "Chloe, where are you planning on applying? Is that even a question?" "With Ethan, of course." "Exactly. Who do you think our girl was studying like a maniac for this past year?" Before Chloe could even answer, the room filled with teasing and laughter. Everyone there had seen Chloe's social media post. They all knew about her and Ethan. Ethan just smiled, leaning his head on Chloe's shoulder without a word. Chloe protectively wrapped an arm around his shoulders. "Of course. I've always said I was going to the same city as Ethan for college." Everyone laughed again, until someone asked a question. "So, does anyone know where our class president is applying?" The room fell silent. I was the class president. Back then, our homeroom teacher gave me the title as an excuse to get me to help Chloe. Over the past 3 years, I'd managed to live up to the name by sharing my study notes with the whole class. Maybe it was my imagination, but I saw the smile on Chloe's face freeze for a second. Ethan saw it too and blinked. He'll probably apply to the same school as me. After all, our class president wanted that early admission spot too. True, his scores are good enough. "Hey Chloe, do you know what Jason got?" someone asked, looking at her. Chloe shook her head. "He didn't tell me." "No way. Aren't you two the closest? He didn't even tell you that?" Chloe was silent. She looked a little upset. Ethan took her hand. "It's no big deal if you don't know. It would be kind of awkward if he really did apply to the same school as me." "Why would it be awkward?" Ethan pursed his lips. "Everyone thinks I stole his early admission spot. He must be holding a grudge." Chloe's brow furrowed. "He missed the test on his own. What does that have to do with you?" She patted Ethan's hand reassuringly. "If you don't want him at the same school, I'll tell him to apply somewhere else." "Really? Would he agree to that?" Ethan's eyes lit up, but his tone was laced with feigned concern. Chloe scoffed. "When has he ever said no to me?" She wasn't wrong. To get Chloe to actually listen and accept my tutoring, I had been completely obedient to her every whim. Sometimes when she didn't want to memorize vocabulary, I even had to coax her. My complete lack of boundaries with her made everyone think I was a total doormat. Even my best friend, Ben, couldn't stand it. "Jason, why do you even bother with her?" He didn't get it. Chloe's dad was paying me a lot of money. Besides, tutoring her also helped me reinforce my own knowledge. It was a win-win. Hearing Chloe's words, Ethan relaxed and leaned happily on her shoulder again. The conversation had about run its course. They started a new topic inside. Just then, more classmates arrived at the elevator, including Ben, who had been messaging me. "Jason, you're here. Why aren't you going in?" he called out when he saw me standing at the door. He ran over, casually slung an arm around my shoulder, and pushed open the door to the room. The whole sequence was so smooth and natural that the people inside didn't even have time to react. I was pulled inside. When I looked up, my eyes met Chloe's. But only for a moment. I quickly looked away. Chloe, however, did not. In fact, when she saw me ignore her, her brow furrowed again. The classmates who were already there said hello to us. Ethan didn't speak, but he stayed very close to Chloe. It was as if he was trying to remind me, to show off that his relationship with Chloe was now on another level. He didn't need to remind me. I had known for a long time. Back in our freshman year, the school was shooting a promotional video. They needed to pick 2 student representatives from the top 3 in our grade. 1 boy, 1 girl. The girl was already set, Lily, who was ranked 2nd. For the boy, the principal wanted to choose between me, the top-ranked student, and another student who was exceptionally handsome. But while the principal was hesitating, Ethan, a member of the student council, offered his opinion. "Sir, this video represents our school's image. We can't have such an average-looking guy on camera, can we?" At the time, I had just come up from a rural middle school. Black pants, black shirt, black glasses. I even had thick, heavy bangs covering my forehead. Standing next to the fashionable, handsome, and dazzling Ethan, I looked like I was from another world. But Jason was the top student in the city's middle school system. That was the principal's dilemma. He wanted to use that to attract new students. Ethan replied he was just a middle school champ. A lot of kids can't keep up once they get to high school. His words were dripping with disdain for me. I found out later. Before I arrived, Ethan had been the #1 student at this school. He had come up through their feeder system, attending the same campus from elementary to high school. The principal hesitated. Compared to me, an outsider who wasn't very photogenic, the other handsome student was clearly a better fit. And so, Ethan became the male lead of the promotional video, showcasing his talent and good looks. He became known as the school hunk. As for Chloe, she noticed Ethan because of that promotional video. Among Ethan's many admirers, Chloe was by far the most forward. She was a rich kid, the kind whose family regularly donated buildings to the school. Though she was flashy, wild, and didn't take anything seriously, you couldn't deny she had a beautiful, delicate face. A lot of boys at school had secret crushes on her. She pursued Ethan relentlessly for a whole semester. Ethan remained unmoved. "Chloe, we're still students. We should be focusing on our studies. I'm aiming for early admission to a top university. You can't even pass the baseline for college. Stop bothering me." Maybe it was being rejected by Ethan again and again that finally got to her. A young girl's pride is a stubborn thing. Chloe didn't show her face around Ethan for a whole month. When the next semester started, Chloe suddenly transferred into our class. At first, everyone thought she was doing it for Ethan. But the 2 of them acted like strangers, never speaking to each other. Chloe sat alone in the back corner of the classroom and started to actually pay attention in class. But she had fallen so far behind, she ended up at the bottom of the class rankings. Until I came along. I greeted everyone who said hello to me and chose a seat on the opposite side of the room. More classmates trickled in. The invited homeroom teacher and other faculty members also arrived. We reminisced about the past and looked forward to the future. The atmosphere was warm and lively. At one point, Ethan pulled Chloe up and they walked over to our homeroom teacher. "Mr. Harrison, here's a toast to you. Thank you for looking after us all these years." Our teacher's gaze lingered on the two of them for a moment. Chloe hadn't blocked anyone from seeing her social media post. In the past, he would have switched into full-on guidance counselor mode and given them a lecture. But now we had all graduated. His eyes just held a mix of helplessness and amusement. His gaze fell on Chloe. I knew you had ulterior motives when you transferred into our class, young lady. Chloe gave a rare, shy girlish smile. Then, our teacher spoke again, this time more seriously. Chloe, once you're in college, you can't be like you were before. Ethan said, Don't worry, Mr. Harrison. I'll keep an eye on her. Good. Then you can take over Jason's job, ha ha ha, the teacher laughed. He was actually the one who had recommended me to Chloe's dad and the principal. He knew my family didn't have much money and always looked out for me. When he heard that Chloe needed a desk mate like me, he arranged for me to be the one. For 2 years, Chloe never knew. But the teacher and I had a silent understanding. Chloe looked at me again. She probably thought about all I'd done and wanted to say something. But Ethan spoke first. Speaking of which, I haven't thanked our class president yet. If it weren't for him, Chloe and I wouldn't be able to go to college together. His smile was bright and dazzling. His tone, however, seemed sincere. After he finished, he even looked at Chloe. Right, Chloe? Yeah, Chloe nodded. Jason, thank you for these past 2 years. No need to thank me. I was just doing a job for someone. Just completing the task I was hired to do. After tonight, Chloe and I would likely never cross paths again. Chloe didn't expect my attitude to be so cold. The look in her eyes turned chilly in an instant. Our homeroom teacher was completely oblivious. He even looked at us with a gratified expression, as if he was moved by the friendly, helpful relationship between us students. He didn't know. In the eyes of our classmates, we had become a complicated love triangle. After the dinner, some people were still in high spirits. They suggested going to a karaoke bar. Our homeroom teacher and the other faculty declined. We'll skip it so you guys can relax. Have fun, and send a message in the group chat when you get home. After his customary warnings, the teachers left. I didn't want to go either, but Ben dragged me along, insisting I keep him company. And so, the group moved to the karaoke place. I can't sing, so I stayed in a corner playing dice with Ben. Just then, Chloe's voice came through the microphone. Everyone, today is the day Ethan and I got together. Everything's on my tab. Her bold voice echoed through every corner of the room. A wave of cheers erupted. Ethan stood beside Chloe, a proud and joyful smile on his face that he couldn't hide. Of course, some people looked over at me. They had all witnessed my pushover devotion during high school. Thinking about all I had done only for it to end like this, I saw all sorts of pitying looks. I didn't really care. After all, I still had that fresh 20,000 from Chloe's dad. Still warm in my pocket, so to speak. Jason. Just then, a gentle, girlish voice spoke next to me. I turned my head, confused. A beam of light from the karaoke machine swept across the girl's delicate face. Maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me, but I thought I saw the tips of her ears turn red. Jason, can I apply to the same college as you? Huh? Before I could even react, Ben exclaimed, Lily, are you serious? You want to apply to the same school as Jason? I don't know if his voice was just that loud, or if it was just a coincidence that someone was changing the song. The room suddenly fell silent. Several pairs of eyes landed on me. I looked at the girl in front of me and finally pulled her from my memory. Lily, the girl who shot the promotional video with Ethan. I didn't really have much of an impression of her. The most memorable thing was that she was always ranked second in our grade. People called her the perennial number 2. Even after I arrived, her rank never changed. Although we were in the same class and our ranks were close, we sat at opposite ends of the classroom. Plus, in high school, all my attention was focused on tutoring Chloe and studying. Only now did I have a moment to really look at her. Because of Ben's outburst, Lily's ears turned an even deeper shade of red, but her eyes were sparkling. She was still waiting for my answer. Sure. I actually had no idea what Lily's scores were. But applying to college was her business. Which school she applied to was her choice. She didn't need to tell me. After I answered, Lily smiled. But then, a sharp sound of a trash can being kicked echoed through the room. Everyone jumped. Their attention was pulled back to the other side of the room. In a sofa in the corner, Chloe was sitting there, her expression unreadable. But you could feel the dark energy and her grim face. Jason Davis. Chloe suddenly shouted my name into the microphone. I need to talk to you. I frowned in confusion. So did Ethan. But beyond his confusion, there was a flash of anger and jealousy I couldn't quite decipher. But that flash of anger and jealousy quickly turned into triumph and provocation at Chloe's next words. What is it? When you fill out your applications, stay away from the school Ethan got into. Chloe's voice was cold. Like an order. Why should he? It was Ben who spoke up for me first. He shot up from his seat. Chloe, don't take it too far. Jason can apply to whatever school he wants. What's it to you? Chloe ignored him. Her cold gaze shot across the room to me. Ethan and I are going to college together. I don't want to see you at his school. So that's what it was. She was probably afraid I'd interfere with her relationship with Ethan. A smile uncontrollably crept onto Ethan's lips at Chloe's words. Ben was indignant. Chloe, if it wasn't for taking you to the hospital, would Jason have missed the early admission exam? Would that spot have gone to Ethan? Chloe's face was like stone. Everyone else might forget. But she couldn't. On the day of the early admission exam, she had faked a stomachache and made me take her to the hospital. The whole point was to make me miss the test, so that Ethan could get the spot. Ben, watch your mouth. Ethan snapped. Jason didn't take the exam seriously himself. Why blame someone else? One was willing to ask, the other was willing to help. Who's to blame? You. Ben was so angry he was speechless. You still can't do this. Jason already missed the early admission exam for that school. What right do you have to stop him from applying to it now? It was indeed too much. The other students started whispering among themselves. Chloe's expression started to sour. Her eyes were heavy, carrying a warning and displeasure. Just then, Lily, who had been quiet this whole time, suddenly spoke up. Chloe, don't worry. Jason won't be applying to that school. He was never interested in it in the first place. When she said that, it wasn't just Chloe who was surprised. Even I was. What surprised me was how Lily knew. It was true. I had my own goals. The school with the early admission program wasn't one of them. Otherwise, I wouldn't have just handed the spot over to Ethan back then. What do you mean? Chloe's tone grew heavier. Lily went quiet again. She just shrugged and met my eyes, as if we shared a little secret. Ethan couldn't maintain his smile. He let out a couple of forced laughs to ease the tension. Chloe didn't really mean anything by it, right? He looked at Chloe. Her gaze, fixed on me, was scorching and sharp. I couldn't tell if she was staring at me or at Lily. Finally, Chloe let out a sudden, cold laugh. That's for the best. Jason, it's not like we'll be seeing much of each other anymore anyway. The person I've always liked is Ethan. I was only your desk mate because I wanted you to tutor me. Now that we're both going to college, you can stop hanging around me. It was as if Chloe was trying to declare something. Her face was hidden in the half-light, her expression inscrutable. I already knew all of this, but she didn't know my real reason for getting close to her. She still thought my willing devotion was because I liked her. But why was Chloe making a point to tell me all this? I looked at her calmly. I was a little confused, but I didn't want to know the answer. Okay, I get it. I said my first real words to Chloe that evening. The room was quiet. Everyone had come to have a good time. No one expected to witness a public breakup drama. My calm and composed reaction seemed to be outside their expectations. They all stared at me in surprise. But it was Chloe who was the odd one. I had given her the exact answer she wanted, agreeing with everything she said. Yet her cold, indifferent face grew even darker. After the party, I never saw Chloe again. When it was time to submit our college applications, everyone was busy choosing schools. I happened to run into Lily at a KFC. Ever since I casually agreed to her request to apply to the same college, she had been texting me every day. When it was officially time to apply, she just asked me to come out and do it with her. She copied my choices one by one. You don't have to pick all the same ones as me, you know. Jason, I may be the perennial number 2, but I've always wanted to catch up to you. I didn't get the chance in high school, but we still have college. Lily had such a sweet face. When she smiled, her eyes curved into bright crescents. It was impossible to feel any negative emotions around her. Helpless, I just let her be. After we finished and submitted our applications, I heard a familiar voice. Jason, Lily, what are you two doing here? Ethan, with his arm linked through Chloe's, asked in surprise. Don't tell me you two are. His gaze wandered suggestively between me and Lily. Chloe, on the other hand, had a cold expression. What are you doing here? I thought after that night, we had parted on bad terms, essentially cutting ties. From Chloe's attitude, it seemed she didn't want anything to do with me anymore. But now she was questioning me in that accusatory tone. It made me uncomfortable. But before I could say anything, Lily lifted her chin. Whatever you're doing, we're doing. Do you even need to ask? Lily's tone was light and airy, but it infuriated Chloe. Chloe's eyes burned as she stared at me. Since when are you two so close? Lily shot back, you only transferred to our class in sophomore year. I was in the same class as him for a year longer than you. Of course we're close. I never knew. Lily had such a sharp tongue. Being cut off repeatedly, Chloe's face turned black as ink. She gave me a deep look, then turned and walked away. Ethan, behind her, almost didn't keep up. He chased after her, calling her name. After they left, Lily turned back to me, smiling as if nothing had happened. Jason, where were we? I gave a helpless laugh. By the time I parted with Lily and went home, it was already dark. A car was parked at the intersection. At first, I didn't pay it any mind, until the driver laid on the horn. Only then did I see Chloe's face through the windshield. I ignored it and started to walk away. It was Chloe who angrily called out to me. Jason Davis, stop. Who said you could leave? She tried to grab my wrist forcefully, but I reacted faster, pulling away and creating distance between us. Chloe pursed her lips, her gaze dark and gloomy, but she still demanded an answer. Jason, why were you with Lily today? I looked at her, baffled. Leaving aside the fact that who I was with was none of her business. Given how angry she was now, what right or position did she have to question me? Jason, you don't have to deliberately find some girl just to make me angry. You're a man. Don't you have any self-respect? Her lecture made me laugh. Chloe, you don't actually think I like you, do you? Chloe froze. She stared at me and I stared back at her. Perhaps the question and contempt in my eyes were too obvious. She actually faltered under my direct gaze, her voice turning dry and hoarse. What do you mean? Why do you think the principal agreed to let you transfer classes? Why did our homeroom teacher say nothing about a poor student like you joining an advanced class? And why did he assign me, the number 1 student, to be your deskmate? You'd rather believe that my help and closeness were because I liked you, instead of considering any other reason? Did you really think that with my high school workload, I had the free time to play some kind of redemption game with you? My string of calm questions. Chloe's eyelids trembled, and her face went deathly pale. I curved my lips into a smile. Oh, princess, you're so naive. That night, even Chloe's steps were unsteady as she turned to leave. I was a little worried at first, but my phone remained quiet the entire next day. Looks like my concern was unnecessary. Thankfully, the following period was exceptionally peaceful. It was as if Chloe had disappeared. She didn't post in the group chat, and she didn't bother me. The class group chat was often active, though. Most of the talk was about graduation trips and college acceptance letters. I'm not one to join in on the fun. Most of the time, I just lurked. The only people I kept in regular contact with were my good friend Ben and Lily, who, after we submitted our applications, found all sorts of excuses to chat with me and meet up. I could guess the deeper meaning behind her chats. But I honestly wasn't in the mood to start a relationship. Until the acceptance letters came out. Lily asked me again. Jason, did you get your acceptance letter? I did. So what are your plans now? Unfortunately, Lily and I didn't get into the same school. We were off by a single point on our scores and ended up in different cities. I want to go check out the city where my university is. This was something I had planned for a long time. After burying my head in books for over a decade, I had never really gone out and explored. Fortunately, agreeing to Chloe's dad's request meant I had enough money to go see the world a bit after graduation. Lily didn't say anything more. She just told me to have a safe trip and be careful. I will. After replying to that message, I ran into someone unexpected, Ethan. Over the past few days, my classmates had been receiving their acceptance letters one by one. Ethan, with his early admission, had gotten his even earlier than us. I was wondering why he would come looking for me. Then he hit me with a barrage of questions. Jason, what did you say to Chloe? She's not going to the same university as me anymore. After hearing Ethan's accusation, I finally understood why he was here. This campus couple, who everyone thought had finally earned their happy ending. Their relationship had lasted less than 2 short months. What does that have to do with me? If it wasn't for you, why would Chloe suddenly cut off contact with me? Why would she disappear for days? Why do you have to take everything from me? Being number one wasn't enough, you had to take Chloe from me too. Ethan glared at me, his voice full of resentment. I frowned, looking at him like he was crazy. First of all, I never took the number 1 rank from you. I had held the top spot for 3 years straight. Ethan was the one who wasn't good enough. Instead of working hard to surpass me, he blamed me for doing too well. And second, I have absolutely no interest in Chloe. The moment you had Chloe try to distract me from my studies, pulling me into your little couple's game, there was no way I could ever genuinely like her. Over 3 years of high school, Ethan and I had very little interaction. I didn't understand why he would harbor such hostility towards me for no reason. We should have been rivals who respected each other's academic abilities. But he resorted to such petty tricks. In my mind, he had already lost the right to compete with me. Ethan was so angry he was speechless. All his previous arrogance and triumph had vanished. I didn't have time to stand there with him reminiscing about the past 3 years. I turned to leave, and immediately saw Chloe arriving. Didn't Ethan just say she had been missing for days? Here she was. I was puzzled and stared at her. Only then did I notice that Chloe looked even worse than the last time I'd seen her. I don't know if she heard what I just said. Her expression was like she'd been dealt a heavy blow. Her face was as white as a sheet of paper. So, you knew all along. She stared at me, as if talking to herself. You only got close to me because of my dad. Chloe's voice was as light as the wind. I heard the second half of her sentence. I expected her to find out the truth eventually. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you lie to me? Chloe sounded like she was the victim. The way I looked at her was no different from how I had just looked at Ethan. In this whole affair, she was the one who lied first. Now she was acting like a victim and interrogating me. Chloe, if you're sick in the head, go see a doctor. I could tolerate her lack of intelligence. But I couldn't tolerate her lack of emotional intelligence. I had no desire to get tangled up with her and started to walk away. I brushed past Chloe as I left. It was just a light touch. But Chloe seemed to be pushed by some invisible force, stumbling back half a step. After I left, I heard Ethan and Chloe arguing behind me. I don't know what Chloe said. Ethan yelled, Chloe, what do you mean? You've fallen for Jason Davis, haven't you? Then what does that make me? A few days later, Ben sent me a message. Jason, did you hear? Ethan and Chloe broke up. He sighed. I thought their relationship was so strong. Chloe even told you not to apply to Ethan's school for his sake. The summer's not even over, and they've already split. While he was still guessing the reason for their breakup, some of the more gossip-loving classmates were already quietly asking me if I had anything to do with it. Chloe was asking me which university you went to. Do you think she realized she actually likes you after all? I heard Chloe had a huge fight with her dad and ran away from home. Her dad even called our homeroom teacher. Jason, do you know what's going on? I had been trying to avoid any news about Chloe, but everyone was bored right after graduation. I don't know, I'm not really clear on the details. Tired of being asked, I just muted all my notifications. I packed my bags to do what I had long planned to do. On the day I left, I saw Chloe again. Jason, where are you going? She asked tirelessly. I couldn't help but find it ridiculous. Chloe, you're the one who said you didn't want to see me, that I should stop bothering you. But look, who's the one doing the bothering now? The person in front of me looked embarrassed by my sarcastic remark, but she still stubbornly blocked my way. Jason, if it wasn't for my dad, you would have never paid any attention to me, would you? Of course. My goal was crystal clear from the very beginning. For someone from a family like mine, education was the only way out. I studied hard, worked diligently, all for the sake of a bright future one day. Why would I stop my progress for a rebellious, failing classmate? Because of love? Ridiculous. A high school romance would only be a stumbling block on my path to success. Growing up, I always hated it when teachers made me sit with underperforming students. They always used the excuse of classmates helping each other to improve together. But if a person could change just by sitting next to a good student, then there wouldn't be so much survival of the fittest in this world, would there? Without Chloe, I probably would have scored even higher. But then I thought about it. Chloe, you used me as a tutoring tool. And didn't I use you as a tool to make money and ease my family's financial burden? We both got what we wanted. It was a trade-off. It was just a matter of what I chose. Maybe my words were too blunt. Chloe's lips trembled slightly. Her eyes were so red they looked like they were about to spill tears. I don't believe you. Jason, we were desk mates for so long. I don't believe you never had feelings for me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have brought me an umbrella in the rain or medicine when I was sick. She grabbed me, desperately trying to find proof in my eyes that I liked her too. Seeing my silence, her eyes filled with joy and excitement again. Yes, I did have feelings for Chloe once. Chloe, do you remember the sports festival in our freshman year? You helped a boy with low blood sugar to the nurse's office. I looked at Chloe, my voice calm and detached. Chloe didn't remember. She looked at me, confused. I told her, that boy with low blood sugar was me. Back then, I didn't have money for breakfast. When I fainted, there were gasps all around. Before anyone else could react, it was Chloe who rushed over. Without a word, she helped me to the nurse's office. The Chloe back then was passionate, kind, and brave. Even though I didn't know her name yet, I had already developed a good impression of her. So when Chloe's father found me later, it sealed the deal. That's why I agreed to everything that followed. I knew that grades didn't define a person. I also believed that the Chloe who saved me back then couldn't be a bad person at heart. I was willing to help her, but my crush only lasted for 3 days. 3 days later, I saw Chloe having a spat with Ethan. Chloe asked Ethan why he was ignoring her. Ethan said unhappily, "You say you like me, but you go and help other guys. You're like, is completely fake." I really... Chloe fumbled for an explanation in front of him. But Ethan wouldn't listen. In the end, Chloe gave in. Fine, I won't talk to other guys anymore. Okay? I'll only be good to you. Only then did Ethan nod, satisfied and arrogant. And after that, on Ethan's word, Chloe vandalized my photo on the school's honor roll. The reason was simply that Ethan had told her I had stolen his #1 rank. These things seemed small, but they were enough to drop my good impression of Chloe to 0. But just as I was debating whether I should return the money Chloe's dad gave me and admit I wasn't up to the task, Chloe herself appeared before me. By then, Chloe had transferred to our class. She couldn't keep up and always came in last on exams. She was dragging down the class average. During a class meeting, our homeroom teacher called my name. Class president, if a student is struggling, as the president, you should take the initiative to help your classmates improve together. Understood. So after class, I went to find Chloe. Hey, these are my study notes. You can borrow them. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. At the time, Chloe looked at me in surprise. After a moment, she mumbled, "Oh, thanks." I thought Chloe was too proud and arrogant, that even if she didn't understand, she wouldn't ask me. But I was wrong. A week later, Chloe came to see me with breakfast. Class president, I don't quite understand your notes. Can you teach me? Of course. I had taken her father's money. If Chloe was willing to learn, I was definitely willing to teach. So every day, I sacrificed my lunch break and evening study hall to tutor her. I even offered to be her desk mate. I thought Chloe had truly turned her life around. Until I went to drop off a workbook for her over the weekend and accidentally overheard her conversation with her friends. "Chloe, you've been getting way too close to that top student lately. Yeah, is our girl doing it on purpose to make the school hunk jealous? But why Jason Davis? Is he even as handsome as Ethan?" Chloe's friends chattered on, all of them asking if she'd lost her mind. Chloe scoffed. "What do you guys know? Ethan said he'd be with me if I got into college. Who else would I ask for help besides Jason? Besides, he's the #1 student. If I make him tutor me, he won't have time to study himself. When his grades drop, Ethan will be #1. Loud laughter came from inside the house. They said Chloe was playing the long game. I thought so too. It's not that I wasn't angry, but I reminded myself that helping Chloe was just a business transaction with her father. I shouldn't invest any other feelings. Chloe wasn't worth my affection. And so, there would be no Chloe in my future. That was just to verify the results of my tutoring. Chloe's dad had said, as long as Chloe showed improvement on her exams, he would give me a bonus. It was just a minor stomachache. Of course, I wasn't going to let it affect my performance review. All the concern I showed for your studies was because of your father's request. Chloe's tears finally fell. She didn't dare to look at me anymore. Her eyes grew redder and redder, and she tried her best to hold it in, but she bent over and turned her back to me. Large tears splattered onto the ground. I never intended for things to get this ugly with Chloe. After the college exams, we should have just gone our separate ways. Who she dated didn't matter to me. It was just her repeated, baseless possessiveness toward me that I found utterly annoying. I belonged to myself, not to anyone else. After I left, Chloe stood there, lost and devastated. I boarded a train heading north and stepped into a new phase of my life. I found a part-time job as a tutor. Thanks to the Chloe case study, many parents were eager to hire me. Eventually, I started selling the study notes I had once prepared for Chloe online. The income was surprisingly good. After starting college, I never saw Chloe again. But I still heard news about her from the class group chat. After a huge fight with her dad, Chloe stubbornly refused to go to college. A classmate told me it was our homeroom teacher who finally stepped in. He painstakingly persuaded her, telling her not to disappoint the hopes and efforts of so many people. If Chloe gave up now, wouldn't that be like throwing away everyone else's hard work? Only then did Chloe agree to enroll. As for what happened to Chloe after she went to college, no one knows. But 5 years later, at a class reunion, Chloe didn't come and neither did Ethan. You guys don't know? The year Ethan graduated from college, it was exposed that he had tried to secure a graduate school recommendation by destroying a professor's family. The professor's wife went to the university to demand an explanation, and Ethan was expelled. As for Chloe, she was originally going to come, but when she heard you were bringing a +1, she decided not to.